The wind moved slowly across the plains, brushing against tall grass as though it, too, hesitated to disturb the quiet. Evening was settling in, the kind that didn't rush but lingered, stretching shadows long and deep. The sky burned with soft oranges and bruised purples, a reminder that endings could be beautiful even when they hurt. She stood by the old wooden fence, fingers curled tightly around its splintered edge. The wood was rough, grounding her, reminding her she was still standing, still breathing, despite the storm raging inside her chest. She had chosen this moment carefully. Sunset felt honest, vulnerable, final. Behind her, the ranch exhaled the sounds of a long day coming to rest. Horses shuffled in their stalls. A distant door creaked. Somewhere, a windmill groaned softly, turning lazily in the breeze. It was a place built on endurance, on weathering storms and surviving seasons that promised nothing but hardship. He fit here. She wasn't sure she did. She had fallen for him in quiet ways. Not with fireworks or reckless passion, but with small certainties. The way he listened more than he spoke. The way his eyes softened when he spoke about responsibility, about keeping promises even when they hurt. The way he carried loss without letting it harden him. But there was one truth she had been carrying alone. One truth that could undo everything. Footsteps crunched behind her, measured, familiar. She didn't turn right away. If she looked at him too soon, she might lose her courage. "You've been quiet today," he said. His voice was calm, but perceptive. He had always noticed the silences others ignored. She nodded, though he couldn't see it. "I needed to think." He stopped beside her, resting his arms on the fence, gaze fixed on the horizon. He never pushed, never rushed. It was one of the reasons she loved him, and one of the reasons this hurt so much. The words pressed against her chest, begging to be released. "I need to tell you something," she finally said. Her voice sounded smaller than she intended. He turned toward her then, really looked at her. The fading sunlight caught the lines of his face, evidence of years spent under open skies and heavy responsibility. His eyes held concern, but no judgment. "All right," he said simply. "I'm listening." She took a breath, then another. Each one felt borrowed. "There's something about me," she began, "that I should have told you sooner." Her hands trembled, and she hated that he noticed. He didn't interrupt. He never did. She swallowed hard. "I can't have children." The sentence hung between them, fragile and exposed. It felt louder than thunder, heavier than the land beneath her feet. The world seemed to pause. Her heart pounded as memories rushed in. Doctors' offices that smelled of antiseptic and disappointment, gentle voices delivering permanent truths, the polite sympathy that followed. She remembered past relationships ending with careful words and avoided eye contact. Men who said they understood, until they didn't. She stared at the fence now, afraid to see his reaction. "I know this matters," she rushed on, words spilling out before fear could stop them. "I know you deserve to know before things go any further. And if this changes how you feel," her voice broke, "if this is where you decide to walk away, I'll understand." Silence answered her, not the cruel kind, but the dangerous kind. The kind that gave space for rejection. She finally turned. He was watching her, not with shock or pity, but with something unreadable. His expression was steady, thoughtful, as if he were weighing something far deeper than expectation. Then his lips curved. Not a big smile, not a forced one, a real one, soft, certain, relieved. "Well," he said, "that's good." Her breath left her all at once. "Good," she repeated, disbelief cracking through her pain. She searched his face for signs of a joke, misunderstanding, anything that would make sense of his response. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, good." She shook her head, confused, hurt, defensive all at once. "I don't think you understand what I'm saying." "I do," he replied gently. Her chest tightened. "No, you don't. I mean I can't, ever. Not now, not later, not with miracles or time or hope. I can't give you children." She braced herself, waiting for reality to finally land. Instead, he stepped closer. The dust shifted beneath his boots. He leaned his forearms against the fence again, eyes forward, voice quieter now. "I've already got kids," he said. Her heart stumbled. What? My wife, he continued, after a pause. His voice didn't waver, but the weight of the words settled heavily in the air. She died 5 years ago. She had known about the loss. But not the depth of it. Not the way it still lived in him. She left me with 4 kids and a ranch that didn't care whether I was grieving or not. He smiled faintly, without humor. Life doesn't stop just because your heart does. Her throat tightened. They're good kids, he went on. Loud, stubborn, kind in ways that sneak up on you. They don't need someone to replace their mother. He turned to her then. They need someone who chooses them. The words hit her harder than the confession she had made. You think I'm looking for someone to give me more children, he said softly. But what I'm looking for is someone who understands what family really means. Her eyes burned. I thought this would be the thing that made you leave, she whispered. He frowned, not in anger, but in disbelief. Why would it? Because it always is, she said. Because every time it matters, I'm not enough. He studied her face for a long moment, then reached out, resting his hand over hers on the fence. His touch was warm, steady. You're not broken, he said firmly. And you're not lacking. Her tears fell then, unstoppable. I didn't want to be a disappointment, she confessed. He shook his head. You'd only disappoint me if you didn't tell me the truth. She laughed weakly through her tears. I was so afraid of this moment. He squeezed her hand gently. And I was afraid you thought this mattered more than who you are. The sun dipped lower, the sky deepening into twilight. I've got enough kids for both of us, he said again, this time with a small smile. What I don't have is someone to stand beside me. Someone who understands that family isn't built by blood alone. Her heart shifted, something inside her loosening for the first time in years. You really mean that? She asked. He nodded. I wouldn't say it if I didn't. She exhaled slowly, as though she had been holding her breath her entire life. In that moment, standing beneath a sky full of endings, she felt something unexpected begin. A future, not the one she had been taught to mourn, but one far greater, and it all began with a confession. And a smile that changed destiny. Chapter 2. Morning arrived on the ranch before the sun did. She learned that quickly. The day began with the sound of boots on wood, doors opening and closing, the low murmur of a man already awake and moving through responsibility as naturally as breathing. By the time the sky blushed with the first hint of dawn, life was already unfolding around her. At first, she felt like an outsider, someone stepping into a story that had been written long before she arrived. The house carried memories in its walls. Framed photographs lined the hallway. 4 children at different ages, some smiling freely, others holding uncertainty in their eyes. A woman appeared in many of them, soft-faced, familiar, irreplaceable. She lingered, in the corners of every room, in the way the children said, "We used to," and, "She always." No one asked her to fill that space. And that, somehow, made it harder. The children watched her cautiously. The youngest, Lily, hovered close but didn't speak much, clutching her stuffed rabbit like a shield. The twins, Evan and Eli, tested boundaries through noise and chaos, their laughter sharp and constant, as if daring the world to leave them again. The oldest, Noah, stayed quiet. Too quiet for his age. His eyes held questions he never voiced. She didn't rush them. Love, she learned, could not be announced. It had to be proven. Her first victory was small. A bowl of cereal made wrong. Lily had pushed it away, lower lip trembling. Mama used to warm the milk, she said softly. The word mama landed like a weight. Her heart clenched, but she smiled anyway. Then we'll warm it, she said, standing up again. Lily watched, surprised, as she returned the bowl to the stove. That morning, Lily ate every bite, and later, slipped her small hand into hers without asking. That night, Evan scraped his knee racing Eli down the driveway. Blood bloomed red against skin. Panic followed. He cried hard, louder than the injury deserved. She knelt in the dirt beside him, steady hands cleaning the wound, her voice calm and low. You're okay, she whispered. I've got you. He stared at her, tears slowing. You're not leaving, he asked suddenly. The question cut deep. No, she answered without hesitation. I'm right here. From that day on, he followed her like a shadow. The cowboy watched all of this quietly. He never interfered, never corrected. He had trusted her from the start, and now he trusted the children to find their way to her in their own time. But Noah was different. He stood at a distance, arms crossed, observing. One night, she found him sitting on the porch steps long after the others had gone to bed. You don't have to stay, he said without looking at her. She sat beside him anyway. I know, she replied. He kicked at the dirt. Everyone says that. She waited. They say they'll stay, he continued, voice tight. Then something changes. She turned toward him. I can't promise nothing will ever change, she said honestly. But I can promise I won't disappear. He finally looked at her. Why? She didn't soften the truth. Because I chose this, she said. I chose you. That night, he didn't say thank you. But the next morning, he left his jacket on her chair without a word, silent proof of trust. Days blurred into weeks. She learned the rhythm of the house. Who needed quiet, who needed chaos, who needed reassurance disguised as rules. She learned that Eli hated thunderstorms, that Evan couldn't sleep without a light on, that Lily talked to her rabbit when she was scared. And she learned how deeply she loved them. One evening, Lily climbed into her lap, fingers playing with her hair. Are you my mama? She asked. The question froze time. She looked at the little girl, at the trust in her eyes, the vulnerability. I didn't give birth to you, she said carefully. But I love you very much. Lily considered this. Then you're my heart mama, she decided. She laughed through tears. The cowboy found her later, sitting alone at the kitchen table, overwhelmed. They're choosing you, he said gently. I'm scared, she admitted. He nodded. Means you're doing it right. The moment it truly changed came during the storm. Rain came hard and sudden, tearing through the land, rattling windows and doors. Thunder cracked close enough to shake the walls. Eli screamed. Without thinking, she ran. She gathered all 4 children into one room, her arms wrapping around them as if she could shield them from the sky itself. She sang softly, nonsense words, half-forgotten lullabies, until their breathing slowed. When the storm passed, the house felt different. Safer. The cowboy stood in the doorway, watching her surrounded by sleeping children. In that moment, he saw what he had hoped for but never dared to expect. Not a replacement. A beginning. Later that night, after the children slept, she sat on the edge of the bed, exhaustion heavy in her bones. I never thought this would be my life, she said quietly. He sat beside her. It's the one you built. She leaned into him, finally allowing herself to rest. Weeks later, during a school event, a teacher approached her. You must be the mother, the woman said with a smile. She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, she said, I am. The word didn't hurt. It healed. That night, as the children slept, she realized the truth she had been running from for years. Motherhood was never denied to her. It simply arrived, in another form. She hadn't carried them in her body, but she carried them in her heart. And love, she learned, was never about how a family begins. It was about who stays.